Hey everyone, welcome to Wildlife Inspired. I'm your host, Scott Keys. I got a new lens and it's a beast. But why did I buy it if I already have this one? I'm going to tell you why I did right after this. Today's video is not a detailed review of the 400, but I am going to talk a little bit about it, and I'm going to show you some image quality images right out of this lens. Now, this is a little bit time sensitive. Let me tell you why I have to do this review, because I'm going to try to sell this lens. And so I've only got a handful of days or weeks to compare these side by side. And that's what I did. As soon as I got this lens, the first thing I did was take it out, play around with it a little bit, and then I set up a controlled experiment in my basement where I tested image quality of these two in a very practical nature. And then I took them outside and I showed or tested for me, how did they feel? In other words, tracking and the speed of the lens, the sound, like anything about these lenses. So I'm going to tell you the differences in these two. And ultimately why I chose to upgrade. A couple things about the video, and a couple things I just want to clear up. I have a full-time job, and a few years ago I decided to try to monetize photography a little bit. For I'm a very practical person. It costs a lot of money, to travel, to buy the gear. It is not something that is cheap. So a few years ago I wanted to travel more, and I couldn't justify going into my 401k or taking money out of my retirement to do that, right? I'm too practical to do that. So let me try to make some money. A couple $1,000s a year, maybe I can make to offset some travel expenses. And that's what I did. So I started this little side hustle. It involved Instagram and YouTube and a few more workshops, selling some prints. I did a lot of things. I'm actually going to do a video on monetization and be very transparent about how I made some of this money. Not getting rich doing it. Believe me, I'm not getting rich doing it. I love doing it. So it's a job that I love and it works. Now I take that money, set aside for travel, and then I haven't traveled for 3 years because of the pandemic, and I really don't enjoy air travel and traffic and congestion and people, so I've avoided it. And I took all that money that I had put aside for travel and I started to invest it into some gear. So I had a little bit of money to do this. So from a practical standpoint, I'm going to tell you what this cost. This lens brand new is about $11,000. I'm going to use round numbers. This one's $14,000. So instantly it's a $3,000 upgrade, but this is used. What can I get for this fair market? Probably around 5 to 8. 8 would be the high end, 5 would be the low end. I'm going to say I can get 7 for this, or 6,500. Either case, I'm going to tell you this is going to cost me out of my pocket $7,000 to move from a 400 millimeter 2.8 to a 400 millimeter 2.8. Is it worth it? I'm going to tell you why I did it, and I'm going to tell you the reasons not to do it. So if you're thinking, hey, I want to upgrade to this, think about it, because it may not be worth it. But if you follow the same reasons I did, the same logic, I'll explain the logic, and I'm going to tell you what the real benefits are here, then it might be something to consider. So maybe you find this just entertaining. Maybe you want to find out what's going on inside my head today. Quick video, no script. I pulled up some information. I took some pictures. I'm going to show all that to you. I want to start with saying the biggest reason people typically upgrade lenses is a significant change in weight. So they're trying to, shed pounds off of their setup. And that happens as generations get better. The lenses tend to get lighter, or improved image quality or tracking. So to those three things, let me just start with weight. This one is 2 pounds lighter. I will tell you, it wasn't a major selling point for me, honestly. I like lighter. Lighter's better. And I didn't think I would feel it, but I felt it like right away. If I went to lift these two, and I hope my mic doesn't pick up the sounds here, I'm going to try to exert. I'm right-handed, okay? So this is my dominant hand. If I go to lift, oh, geez, you can see right there. This one's 2 pounds lighter. I'm exerting this. I swear I'm trying to exert the same amount of force. This one just comes up faster. It does feel significantly lighter in the hand. So it's 25% lighter. It didn't seem like in my head I would notice the difference, but I absolutely noticed a difference. I like it. Not a huge selling point for me, but 2 pounds lighter, I will absolutely take that. The other thing we talked about is things like tracking. Is it going to be better in that? I didn't notice any significant difference. I'll tell you a couple little differences in a minute. But the real main thing comes to image quality. Is it better? Is it sharper? That's what I'm going to show you today. I set up this little guy out there, a little stuffed animal. Oh, let me take you over to him. Let me pop over here. All right, so let me pop over to this screen. I had set up this little animal, put a direct light on him. I was 10 feet away. I focused on that eye and I used a remote shutter. I tried to normalize everything else. So all the settings, everything is the same. I took some test images with my old lens, took some test images with my new lens. Spoiler alert, not a tremendous difference. So people may tell you, oh, this is incredible. It's the sharpest lens I've ever used. I'm telling you, practically, and that's what this channel is, it will always be practical. Does it make a difference? Can you see it, feel it in the field? Is there a difference? It is minimal, and I mean minimal. So let me show you some test images here. I'll pull up at the end, I'll put all of these together, and then down below, I'll reference which lens and what the settings are. This is you're looking at the Z lens, so I'm gonna call the new lens the Z lens, you know, the mirrorless lens. The old lens is gonna be the F lens or the F mount lens, and on that, I am using the adapter. So there's a adapter you have to use to go from the F mount to the Z mount. Here we go. 2.8 Z lens, F4 Z lens, 5.6 and F8. Now let me run those same settings on the F lens. This is F. You notice the light changed slightly there. I apologize. I had the sun coming through my window and 5 minutes later it wasn't there. But on the eye, it's the same. I normalized the light on the eye. It's 2.8, F4, 5.6, and F8. And you don't really see any significant difference here, right? Like if you replay that series, I promise you, you're not going to tell much. Now, let me go to 100%. These crops aren't 100%. Now I'm going to crop into 100%. So that was at 400 millimeters with both lenses. I showed you the before and after. Here's a chart. I shouldn't say chart. Here's a comparison. These are side by side. At each aperture, how much sharper is one than the other? Maybe an edge to the Z mount. Maybe like a hair edge. All right, let's jump over now to the teleconverter. Let's pop that teleconverter on. I'm going to show you the physical makeup of this in just a minute. All right, so this is okay, here we go. This is there we go. There's the 1.4. All right, this is the 1.4 teleconverter at F4. Remember, we don't have, when you put the teleconverter on, you lose a stop, so we're starting at F4. There's 5.6 and F8. This is all on the Z lens. That is impressive. That is so you're looking right now at the Z lens with a 1.4 teleconverter at 100% crop. Look at the detail in the eyes there. That is impressive. So really, really satisfied with the quality. Practically, is there much of a difference? I don't know. I don't know. If you want some details, let me pull up another, kind of another reference. I'm going to pull up a website. If you've never used this, if you like tech and data and charts and actual people that study these lenses, I give you the practical stuff. I'm not going into labs to test, but I can give you a couple websites. This is DxOMark. I'll put a link down below. No affiliation with them, but they're a great reference. The chart that you're seeing right now, by the way, they have a lot of neat charts and things. This is a sharpness chart. And what this is telling you is that this is for the F mount, the FL lens. And what it's telling you is the green is where it's the sharpest. Notice these lenses are sharp all the way down to 2.8. At the end of the video, I will tell you quickly why I love the 400 2.8. And I think it's the greatest lens for wildlife for me personally, but everybody is different. It may not be the lens for you, but it is the perfect lens for me. So notice this one, sharp all the way down to 2.8. I shoot wide open a lot. I need stops of light. I shoot low light. I want as much light as I can get. Therefore, this lens really, really works for me. Another website here called Camera Labs. They've done a review of the Z-mount lens. And in here, you're going to get test images with charts. So these are actual, charts that they use to measure sharpness, vignetting, all that kind of stuff. So if you're kind of interested, I'll put the links down there. You can read through those on your own. I'm not going to bore you with a video on that stuff. I just like to show you the practical stuff. All right, for sharpness, don't dip into your 401k. If all you're worried about is sharpness and you've got one of the 500 F4s or 600 F4s and you're using an adapter and you're okay with that, maybe you don't shoot a ton, no, don't go into the 401k for that one. If you're just worried about image quality. Now, if weight's a difference, if you're looking for weight, 2 pounds, is that worth $7,000? Again, I'm trying to put this into practical terms. For me, that wasn't enough. It wasn't enough just for weight, and it wasn't enough for image quality. I still tell you, I think I'm happy with my decision because there are a couple things that are different about this lens. Now, before I get into the real reasons, the number one reason, I do want to just break down this lens in general and show you a couple things. Again, not a detailed review. This one has a built-in teleconverter. So whereas this, and I've got the adapter sitting on top, a teleconverter goes in between here to get that extra 40% more magnification. Have to take this off, put the teleconverter on, and pop this back on. Now, not a huge inconvenience, but when you're in the field and it's messy and it's grimy, or you're at the beach, whatever, conditions aren't great, you're putting, like, ugh. And then that teleconverter's got to go somewhere, and you forgot the case for it, so now it's sitting in your pocket or in a bag somewhere. I've wrapped mine in wipes, to keep it protected, some lens wipes wrapped around there. You've probably done it, right? Like, teleconverters are a pain in the butt. They're great. I mean, they're an amazing tool, but when you want to switch, wow, that scene changed, or I want to get a little more scenic, let me take the teleconverter off. Wow, I want more reach, let me put this is just, wow. Wow. To have the ability to essentially have two lenses, you get a 400 2.8 and a 560 millimeter f4 built into one lens. That is just incredible. Is that enough for $7,000? No, that's convenience. It's great. I love it. But for me, if that was the only reason, still struggling. Now, again, start to add up the factors. Maybe a little bit better image quality, especially with that 1.4. I think it's fair to say that 1.4, the image quality might be just a hair better. So that plus the weight savings, plus this built-in teleconverter convenience, which is really all it is, convenience. Is there anything else? Now, before I tell you the kind of the clincher, what sold it for me, let me just real quickly compare the sound, because while not a major selling point, there are some people that will enjoy the fact that some of these newer lenses are just dead quiet. First, I'm going to play my old F-mount lens. So listen first as the VR engages. You're going to hear this like little whining noise in there as the VR is engaged, and then I'm going to focus it for you. So let's listen to this. And now we're going to try to listen to the Z lens, but spoiler alert, you're not going to be able to hear it. You literally, even with the mic as close as it is, you just can't hear it. So listen carefully. This is focusing right now. Ready? Go. Nothing. And now I'm going to engage the VR. You'll hear a little click as it engages, but there's no noise. Once it engages, dead silent. Pretty amazing. Well, this was the deciding factor for me. I'm going to show you this. I took this off before with the mirrorless body, right? So here's my Z9. This lens, I'm putting it right on there. I've got one connection, one mount that I'm worried about. That's it. It's mounted and I'm done. I'm not taking anything on and off. It's staying on there. That's my primary lens. Probably 99% of the time, that lens is on this body with no changes. Here, I'm taking things on and off all the time. And when you're hiking or when you're moving around and you've got the adapter plus the teleconverter, you now, instead of having one point of contact, you've got 1, 2, 3. You've got 3 areas. And what I noticed is that those areas, ultimately, they started to loosen up. Now watch, I took a video to show you before I get rid of and sell this lens. Here's the reality of it. If you are shooting on a tripod stationary, this isn't a big deal. If you're just walking around casually, not hiking a lot, but if you're working out your gear, if you're hiking, I'm throwing this thing in a bag sometimes, I've got it on my shoulder on a monopod, I'm using this gear. Here's what happened. It starts to loosen up. I was out in the field, I was shooting images and the autofocus stopped working. And I realized when I got home that those connections had become so loose that I had to tighten them back up. And, not ideal, but also, how secured long-term for me. This is a long-term game for me. I'm going to be doing this for another 5-10 years. I know that. So if I know that, do I want to take a chance that one of those mounts is going to come loose or break. So that was the selling point. That's what put it over the top for me. It wasn't just the convenience of the built-in teleconverter. It was actually losing the teleconverter out of the equation so that it was a more secure mount. So now, reasons. Maybe better image quality. Again, I showed you the difference, maybe. Built-in teleconverter convenience, weight, and for me, I'm gonna just call this security. It just feels now like this camera is one unit built to work together. This felt like I was kind of putting things together. And for me, as active as I am with the gear, wasn't worth it. So I don't know if you found this video helpful or not. If you want more details or more information, I can certainly add some stuff to it. Before I let you go, again, this was just kind of a free form video. A few little other features about this. The vibration reduction, the VR, you will notice on, let me turn it around this way, very simplified. If you've ever looked at any of the Nikon lenses on this side, a very simplified layout here. There's no settings for VR. There's no buttons or toggles. You're working now with the built-in image stabilization in the camera. So these things kind of work together. So you're doing more control through the camera body than you are on the physical lens. There's some memory recall options in here. So it's got what's called a control ring in here that you can use this little guy here as a memory recall dial. So nice. Again, not $7,000 nice, but yeah, nice touch. And I think these mirrorless lenses give you some more flexibility. There's a memory recall buttons, but this old lens had the same thing. So yeah, some little touches on the lens. A little concerned about the foot, by the way. If anybody's got recommendations down in the comments, let me know if you've replaced this foot. The foot is a little short. And even when I put this plate on it to test it, I have not bought eventually I'll replace this foot third party. But if this comes forward, and I'm going to show you over here, this one is, oh gosh, Scott, is this a Kirk? I forget if this is Kirk or Really Right Stuff. I got to look at it later. But you see how this lens foot comes forward? This lens didn't balance when I had it on the gimbal. It's almost like this lens foot has to be longer and go backwards. Now, there are companies that make a lens foot that kind of extends back a little bit more. So if you've got experience with that, before I buy mine, if you've got this lens, I know somebody out there has this lens, put it down in the comments and help me out because I don't want to buy a lens foot. Promedia Gear, I talked to them. They are making a new lens replacement feet for lenses for this Nikon brand. So I don't know if they've got this one out that time I'm recording it. I don't think they do. Theirs, I know, flanges back. So that's the one I'm hoping to get. I just don't know if I can wait for it to be released. So if you've got some experience with that. Your thoughts, is anybody using this beast? I mean, this is a monster lens. Was it worth the upgrade? Are there reasons I missed? Is there something out there that you're like, oh, Scott, you forgot to mention why this is the greatest lens in the world? Trying to keep it practical here. I'll go out with this. Obviously, I'm going to do some more videos, behind the scenes stuff. I do a lot of that over on my Patreon site. So if you're interested in the behind the scenes, probably better to look at the Patreon subscription site. But I do like to take this out in the field once in a while and show the YouTube channel. So if I have some experiences or some helpful tips, I'll share them with you. But for this video, it was really just about this process for me. Is it worth the upgrade? What was the decisions for me? Being a practical man, how do I justify basically buying the same lens and paying a lot more money for it? So hopefully I explained those reasons for you today and why I made my decisions. Today, no buyer's remorse. I'm not going to lie. It was a big investment for me. I struggled with it at first, but no buyer's remorse. There's some other lenses out there. I'm going to be doing some comparison videos, by the way. So stay tuned. If you're not subscribed to this channel, make sure you're subscribed because I got a couple neat concepts around comparing lenses. So that one will be coming up shortly. But hopefully you enjoyed this video today. Make sure you go down below. Little bell notification. Just let you know when I put a new video about. Maybe one a month. You'll get notifications, 2 a month. If I'm having a good month, maybe you get 3 or 4. But I'm not going to inundate you with notifications. So don't be afraid to click that little bell so when I release a new video, you get to see it first. Thanks for your support on the channel. Hopefully you like this, not really a review, but comparison video. And hopefully we can continue to find inspiration in wildlife together.